Hi guys, and thank you very much for having me here this morning. I mean, echoing what you said, it's amazing to hear two other entrepreneurs kind of tell their story, because I just think there's so many similarities between everybody who sets up a business, small, big, whatever industry that may be. And it's, I feel like I may be repeating half the stuff that's already been said, to be honest with you. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to tell you my story today, you know, touch on some of the, obviously the risk points of, you know, I've made a big jump from the corporate world to, you know, to setting up my own business as a sole founder. And, you know, it's not easy, and I'll kind of take you through the kind of road of what made me jump and how I got to where I am today. So first of all, what is MiniExchange? So MiniExchange is the online marketplace for everything mums and kids. We are an e-commerce platform out here. We also now have a website in Saudi Arabia, soon to launch in Kuwait, Qatar, and Egypt. And we basically have now 35,000 products on the site across 850 product categories, and basically delivered to your front door like a standard e-commerce platform. The way that we work slightly differently is we work direct with the distributors, and we don't hold any stock. So we are technically, from a back end, a marketplace that allows us to work directly with the likes of, say, P&G or Unilever or Johnson & Johnson and deliver their products instead of them shipping a big container of Pampers to Carrefour and then you going to Carrefour. We basically work directly with the kind of manufacturing plant or the distributor and ship directly from their warehouse and facilitate that whole process. So in short, we are a technology platform. We don't see, hold, touch any stock, and basically facilitate the process for distributors to be able to sell to the end consumer. So that's kind of what we do. So how did I get here? So my background is, and I always get asked the question, am I a mum? No, I'm not a mum. I wouldn't be able to work 20 hours a day and do this if I was. How did I get here? So when I was 14 years old, was in love with eBay in the UK. So I was shipping containers from China, America. These products would land on my parents' doorstep. I would package them back up. I would send them off to people. I mean, the most weird and wonderful little things that I could see a margin in. And was making a little bit of money and really, really enjoying it. And it was very small, and went to university and kind of carried on this a little bit and thought, no, come on, I must get a proper job. The dream was always to be CEO of eBay. Not too sure how I was ever going to get there. An ambitious dream, that's for sure. But went and did an economics degree at Edinburgh University and graduated there when I was 21 and thought, no, let's go into the city. Surely that's what one must do with an economics degree. I can't possibly carry on importing these crazy items from all over the world and selling them. So went and worked at Deloitte, was in their corporate finance team doing M&A, worked in the retail team, so I was effectively buying and selling companies now, not, well, I was very much assisting, probably doing most of the photocopying, but rather than, you know, selling these products. So did that, and from day one, I mean, the amount I learned from Deloitte, I was 2 years in London, then did a secondment, and that's kind of what brought me out to Dubai. I couldn't understand. I was, you know, ambitious, probably aggressive, probably way too outspoken, and I had these partners that had been there kind of, you know, 20 years, and I would go and be like, I don't think we should take on this client, you know, it doesn't make commercial sense, and they would stand there and think, just shush and go back to your desk. So you know, I just couldn't understand how these kind of big tanker companies, which are amazing organizations at teaching timekeeping, teaching the ability to write amazing emails, teach the ability to just have a fantastic work ethic, and you're working with highly intelligent people every single day. So thoroughly enjoyed my time there, but just from an actual job point of view, what I was doing, like, wasn't for me, and fought the system every single day. Transferred out to Dubai, thought, let's have a change of country and see what that brings. So moved out here, and again, from day one, just could not handle the fact that we were taking on business that I was just like, why are we not doing this? And all day I was thinking, gosh, what business could I set up myself where I could make these decisions myself and actually kind of, you know, decide what I was going to do and decide what made commercial sense that these people clearly, in my opinion, didn't know how to do. So yes, I was probably immature, naive, and all the rest of it. I was, you know, 24 years old at this time. And went through every idea of my head of whether I'm going to be a sugar trader, am I going to work for Unilever in supply chain, I was going to start up the equivalent of Rent the Runway in the States, where you could kind of rent dresses and sell them. I mean, I literally went through everything every day, coming home to my now husband and saying, I'm going to set up this business. And then kind of, you know, knew the kind of e-commerce from the UK and thought, you know, there's definitely a market out here for products that one can't get online from all of these distributors in one place, massive shopping culture out here, hugely sticky customers for mums in kind of, you know, how recurring they are and stuff, and just thought there must be a market here. I won't dwell on too much kind of how the business got to how it is today, but we actually started as a platform where parents can kind of buy and sell, their items, and then we've actually moved to a kind of full e-commerce, full price site. So, on one of the kind of risk points that I know you touched on, the ability to be agile, the ability to kind of quickly change when, there is different demands that you don't necessarily know about, and the customer is always the one telling you what's selling. You can't, force them to buy something. So that was kind of my route of how I kind of then decided to jump in and set up MiniExchange and started very small from my dining room table, and still is small, so to speak. And I had my first employee join after 2 months, and she would turn up with a front door key to my house and on the dining room table, and I worked on the dining room table for 18 months. And at the end, I had 6 staff turning up every day to my house, probably not my husband loving this, every day cooking their lunch in the kitchen. I mean, full on, like 6 house keys, getting them replicated so my employees could turn up, having to figure out licenses and like visas and get people on their parents' visa. I mean, it was just a disaster. But anyway, I was like trying to grow this business, didn't want to invest in kind of all of these different visas and like all this different stuff. So I was like, right, let's just keep going. I mean, we've still got pictures to this day of kind of, a photo studio in a bedroom and dining room table with like laptops around it and extension leads going everywhere past. I mean, it was kind of amazing looking back on it. And then got to the point where we were like, right, we've obviously got to raise some cash. The business is growing very quickly. And that was kind of when the fun began. So, just touching very quickly on fundraising, huge risk setting up MiniExchange and jumping from a kind of salary with a great company with a great CV with a great HR team and a great kind of printing team and everything very much kind of there, to suddenly being completely on your own. And yes, having the luxury of being able to make all the decisions, but also having to be, everything was on you. Pride, you don't want to kind of tell your friends it's not working. There's press articles going out, you've got to actually deliver to the customer. And suddenly this kind of, roller coaster starts of up and down emotions, which has, been an absolutely amazing journey. But one thing I always say when I kind of meet people and they say, gosh, the things that everybody sees from the outside are me standing here, are the press, are the different articles, or the awards, or these different things that, are amazing, but you don't see the kind of downsides of it, which is not easy. And I'm sure you guys will kind of echo me in sleepless nights, and any entrepreneur that hasn't had, days when they think, gosh, this business isn't going to work, or sleepless nights is, clearly an amazing entrepreneur that I would love to meet. So fundraising, I guess, was the kind of next risk. Like suddenly, yes, you kind of input your own cash to set up this business, but taking somebody else's cash into your business and also taking on employees is kind of, taking a lot of risk onto you that you've got to, make that decision and make that decision wisely. So we started fundraising. Again, obviously knew a little bit about it from my kind of years at Deloitte, but had never raised money for myself, and very, very different writing an investment deck for somebody else than writing one for your own business and having to go out and sell it. So started on that route was one of the hardest things I've ever done, not in terms of just from the emotion side of things. We were very lucky that we managed to secure the funding. We raised $1.1 million last summer. We're now soon to start our Series A fundraising that will close in Q3 this year. But to get the right people into the business, and also to try to grow a business when you're spending 90% of your time fundraising, is the hardest thing that I've ever done. I was taking investor calls. I promised myself I wouldn't work on my wedding day, but I took an investor call on the morning of my wedding day. I closed my fundraising round on the last day of my honeymoon. I worked 14-hour days my whole honeymoon. So, what you have to go through, you can't kind of, is amazingly rewarding, but definitely kind of, I'm very lucky I've got a husband who will support and will kind of, let me do these things and kind of be kind of completely all consumed. I very much got a goal and something that I want to achieve, and nothing's going to stand in my way to do so. And I think that you guys will be the same, that you become unbelievably passionate, and also echoing what James said. Unless you are passionate, people say, what's your kind of end goal? Is it to exit and sell and make lots of money? And you kind of think, well, I guess, yes, that is the plan. But not one day have I ever really thought about it and ever really thought, gosh, what house am I going to go and buy in the Bahamas maybe one day if this business works out and I manage to sell and get some money? I mean, you've really, when you start a business, got to be so unbelievably passionate about it. You've got to infect your employees with your passion, because they're probably working for under market rate because you can't afford to pay them, and as much as they probably should be earning. You've got to kind of inspire them every day to work for you and create this vision and create this culture in a company that you've set up yourself. And you've got to kind of, every morning wake up and you're the driver of this business. People say, is it harder without a co-founder? Personally, I've loved it. I get to make every decision. I get to be unbelievably agile and dynamic. If I see a new market opportunity, it's launched that day. We launched with kids on the site. We then soon launched mums. And then last month, we decided to launch house and home on the site. So I'll be speaking to you guys after that. So, now we're kind of branching out into all these different channels, because that's where the market demands come from, from people and what they've been wanting. So I think, taking the jump in the first place, but then, allowing yourself to move and be dynamic is just unbelievably critical. If you start with a business plan and go down that route, it's, impossible. It's never going to end up, unless somebody's extremely lucky, exactly where they planned it, exactly with the revenues they thought, exactly with the exact business model they thought they were going to create. Ours definitely didn't. And I think that's hugely important for somebody getting into it, is going into something you love. Mine was e-commerce. I didn't really mind what field. I'm not really addicted to the kind of mums and kids side of it. I think it works very well in this market, and I think there's kind of very limited competition and limited other players, especially in KSA and the other markets that have nothing right now, and saw a kind of huge growth opportunities, why I jumped in. So I guess that's a little bit about my story to date. I probably haven't talked so much about the kind of risk side of things, but I definitely wouldn't be where I was without the support of kind of family and friends, and also without the support of the investors. I think it's unbelievably important to get the right investors on board and get people that share your vision and back you. It is a roller coaster, and you want people in with you that know that, and that aren't going to think every day it's plain sailing, and people that you are going to be able to phone up and say, this, shit's hit the fan today, I've got to, go and do this, and, can you support me? You've got to have those people in, and we were very, very lucky and humbled to have amazing investors in, which have now, set us on a very, very good stead for our kind of next round of fundraising and hopefully growth going forward. So I think that's, very, very important to take your time on that. But I definitely would say, and I always say this, if you've got an idea, again, echoing what you said, do start it on the side. You don't need to go and invest, hundreds of thousands of dirhams in a business to get it going. You can very easily see if, something sells and you can make 1,600 dirhams. The product sells, it could be scalable, let's give it a go. These, just testing these things out at fairs, or, if it's a technology company online or whatever that may be, you can do for very, very limited cost. It's not going to lead to huge revenue straight away, or, be some sexy business, but it's at least going to give you a gauge of whether this is worth taking the jump from a steady job and a steady lifestyle into something that is effectively the unknown. So that's my story. Thank you very much for having me here, and here for any questions if you've got them afterwards.
Wonderful, thank you.